Welcome to this third video, where we will check whether the DDA model that you have created is ready for you to start using. You should do these checks as soon as the model has been trained. The first check we will do is something we checked in the first video already, but probably the most important test of all. Let's navigate to the DDA model and look at the components of that DDA model. What floodlights and labels are included? The first things we need to be 100% sure of is whether the model is correctly classifying all search activity as such. A DSDDA model looks at all activity under the labels that are included in the model and adds an uncategorized label to that. In that label, it will drop all other clicks under the DCM floodlight configuration in the DCM network. That could include all non-labeled upsearch, affiliate clicks, display clicks, or any other tracked channels. Does the sum of costs the DDA labels cover add up to the total sum of money spent in the account? All search traffic will be classified as search. The sum of the costs going through these labels is roughly $55,000, and we can see the total cost is almost $82,000. What is driving that difference? Let's look at that activity that is missing. Is it GDN or other channels that is making up the difference, or should we adjust our rules to apply one or more of the DDA labels more broadly? We apply the filter to see that activity by excluding all other activity that contains a DDA label, and we can scroll through to see if this needs to be classified as search, and if so, how do we include it? In this case, these $26,000 represent search activity, and it will need to be included in one of the DDA labels for the DDA model to make sense. Next, let's assume this covers the whole cost of the account and look at our label structure. Are we happy with the origin label to be applied to the vast majority of our search activity? If we have a vastly different conversion rate or margin per passenger from one area versus another, it might make sense to split this label out into two labels. Also, we have an empty label in the model. We might use that as a backup to cover any future generic activity. And finally, the brand label seems to cover only a very small proportion of the investment. Normally, I would try to roll it up into another label with similar behavior, as it covers only a few percent of the investment. But in this case, brand activity does not really fit any of the other labels and has enough conversion data, so I will keep it in its own label grouping. Next, we check whether the labels are as relevant as they could be for the floodlight tags. They need to match in geography. A model with local floodlight tags should have labels that only have local search activity rolled up to them. We can see here the floodlight tags seem to cover global sales, so we should have no geographical restrictions for applying the labels. So let's go to the rules section and look at the conditions under which we apply the labels. You can see there is no geo restriction, so floodlight tags seem to correspond with the label structure. Does that mean that this is the best model to power bidding in your biggest market? No. If half of Oceanic Airlines' revenue is from the US market, they might want to create a second model with all relevant floodlights, but a label structure that only looks at search activity that is targeted at the US. That would be a better model to power bidding in the US market, as it would be customized for US search and conversion behavior. And last but not least, have a think about the floodlight tags that are included in the model. Do all of these floodlight tags represent the same value to your business? Are they part of the same sales funnel? If so, fine. If not, you might want to create more than one model and use the formula column functionality to assign a weighting to one or more of your floodlight specific DDA columns before you use this data in a bid strategy.